I am Debra Sennefelder. I am the author of the Food Blogger Mystery Series and the Resale Boutique Mystery Series.
I was stalking you online, so that's, a great thing.
Yes.
To find out more about
You've made it when you have a stalker.
Exactly. I mean, that's not creepy at all or anything. I guess the first question, how did your job in publishing come about, and what did you do while you were in publishing?
I worked for a specialty publisher of magazines and books, and I got the job when I moved to Newtown, Connecticut. It's a small family-owned business. I started as a temp in the fulfillment department, and then I landed a full-time job in customer service, and that's where I stood for about 21 years. What was great about the job was that because it's a small company, they ran with a very lean staffing for all those years, and so it gave me the opportunity to work in various other aspects of the company, not just all in fulfillment or customer service. I got to do a lot of projects with the magazine publishers, a lot with the web development, because that was about the time when websites were becoming more and more commonplace. So they had to adapt, and so it was a great time. I got to do a lot of work, not just fulfillment or customer service. So it was, and 10 minutes from my house. It was perfect.
Oh, that is nice.
Yes.
Nice. Very nice. Did you have an inkling that you wanted to become an author before going into your publishing, or did it
yeah.
You know, like a long time ago, you're like, this is what I will become. Well, that's
so when did you start writing then?
I've always written. I was writing short stories when I was a kid, and then I started probably in my early 20s. I wrote my first manuscript, and then I set it aside after it was rejected, which it should have been because it was really that bad. And I picked it up again probably my early 30s.
And what made you pick it up again?
I was reading a magazine article about an author. It was a magazine that was called Romantic Times, and there was a profile on an author who lived in my town. So I wrote to her, and we ended up meeting for lunch, and she told me about a writers group, and I decided to join, and that's how I got back into writing.
Okay. So did that first manuscript ever, have you published it?
Oh, no.
No?
No. No. In fact, I found about 2 years ago when I was going through my office, going through the drawers, the notebook that I had that I had written. And I actually did a Facebook Live when I talked about it. And I read the pages. I'm like, oh, thank goodness it was rejected. It was horrible.
Well,
but it was complete. So
that's the biggest step for a book, is actually completing it. So many
Yes.
people start and never finish. So obviously you're talking to a romance writer. Was your first book a romance book then?
No, that very first book was a cozy mystery.
Oh, was it? Okay.
It was.
Okay.
And when I joined the writers group, I really wasn't writing at that point. I was thinking about starting writing again. So I did write a few romantic suspense manuscripts over the years. And, I did try to, I submitted them, trying to get them published, but they were rejected, as they should have been. And then, I eventually came back to cozy mysteries.
So it does sound like you've gotten some rejections throughout the years.
Yes.
But as far as like this cozy mystery series, how was that? Did it go pretty fast, or did you get a lot of rejections first, or was it, just kind of right time, right publisher?
Yeah, it went pretty fast. When I decided, I was writing romantic suspense, and it was the second book in what would have been a trilogy, and I was working with my critique partner. But something just didn't feel right about the book or the series. I just didn't feel that it would sell.
Okay.
So I took a step back, and I talked to my critique partner, and we decided that I would try writing cozy mystery, because I enjoy them. I've read them for years, and I thought maybe I should just go back and give it a try. I had nothing to lose at that point. So I sat down and I wrote The Uninvited Corpse, which is book 1 in the Food Blogger series. A year later, I sent it to an agent. I got signed on by the agent in April of 2016. And in November, the Tuesday after Thanksgiving, I had a 3-book offer from Kensington.
Oh,
so
awesome.
It went very fast.
Yeah, very cool.
Well, I guess the one question I had, like just reading the book, was how do you know when your book is complete, when you're writing it? Because there's so many times that you can edit it or make changes to it or add this, take this out. Is there something specific that you look for that tells you, okay, this book, this is done, this is the best that I'm going to get it, and this is what I want to submit?
Actually, I was just recently going through the page proofs that I get from my publisher, and that's the very last chance you have to make any changes in the manuscript before it goes to the printer. And up until that point, you want to change everything. So you can't. So it's very hard, but I work within, a detailed outline. Mm-hmm. So I know exactly what I want to have happen, though changes do occur. Right. I do make changes, but that's a very hard thing to know that this is the very best that it can be, that it's finished, that it's done. I can send it to my editor. We work on deadlines. I have a date, so I don't have the luxury of holding it back.
Right.
If it has to go on a certain date. But it's just, I just feel that it's when I go through my 4th or 5th draft, I feel that it is done. Right. At least to my ability at that moment. Of course, a year later when I had the page proofs, I can see that I was so wrong.
The other question I thought of was reading, because I'm not someone that has read, I don't know that I've actually read any cozy mysteries. I think this is my first one, honestly.
Okay.
So that was awesome.
Yeah. And so Kim was like, hopefully you like it.
I know.
And I really did enjoy it.
Thank you.
Can honestly say probably within like the first 4 pages, I was like, I'm interested to see what happens.
Thank you.
And the thing, though, that I wondered is there's so many characters. How do you keep track when you're writing of all the characters? Do you keep like a spreadsheet or like a list of who's who? And
yes, I have a character list, and it lists all of the characters in the book, what role they play in the book, how they work with Hope, because some characters will help Hope early, who's the main character. In the investigation, I keep a detail of characteristics and what they look like, and I know who's a suspect, and I know who the murder victims are. So that's what I use.
Do you do that before you actually sit down and start writing?
Yes, I work from a very detailed outline, so I do know who the suspects are, and I do know who the murder victim or murder victims may be in the book, and I really stay to that outline when I'm writing the manuscript. But things will change every now and sometimes.
Right.
Yeah. You were a former food blogger, so did that kind of feed in a little bit more easily as to writing this series then? Or
It did. What happened was, when I was talking to my critique partner about trying to write the cozy mystery again, I knew that I wanted it to revolve around food, because that's probably the thing that I am the most comfortable with. Something that I knew. I like to cook, I like to bake, so I felt that was a good place for me to be. And then I was thinking about, what does she do for a living? What is Hope's job? And I needed to give her something that would be flexible, because she's very busy, as you read in the first book. She's out and about trying to solve the mystery. I realized I was a food blogger. I'll make her a food blogger. At that point, there wasn't any other food blogger cozy mysteries out there, so I went with that. That's how that came to be.
I really liked that. I thought that was very unique, I guess. A unique twist to it. So I really enjoyed that.
Is your food blog still active out there in the world somewhere?
No, I had to take it down. What happened was, I was working full time, writing, and actually actively pursuing publication. I was writing to submit and to get published. It's different from just writing to write the book. And then, with, just life and family, I could not do everything. And the blogging takes a lot of time. a lot of work and a lot of commitment, and something had to give. And I really wanted to pursue fiction writing. So I actually shut the blog down and got rid of it because the lure was always to go back to it.
Right.
And I just couldn't. So after, I think I had it up for about 3 years, I just shut it down, made the commitment. So I really had nothing to fall back on.
So do you find like baking or cooking, is that like a stress reliever for you then, or?
It is, and I've always done it. I baked since I was a teenager. I just loved baking, so I enjoy it. So it does, yeah. And sometimes I just go in the kitchen and bake something. It's a stress reliever. It's also helps with sometimes if I get if I'm blocked, I'm not sure where the story might be going, or the scene isn't working, so I may go in the kitchen.
Do you have like a favorite thing to bake, like cookies or anything, or just everything?
Everything, cookies, cakes, pies, everything. Especially this time of the year.
And that's where I enjoyed Hope's character as the blogger and the cooking. Because again, I love to bake as well. And so that was just kind of fun. And to have the recipes in the back of the book, I thought that was kind of cool. But the other thing that I guess I was thinking with this is, does that add another level of complexity? Because I mean, essentially, you're thinking of these different recipes that you're going to incorporate into the book. So is that something that you just kind of come up with as you're writing? Like what recipes she's going to do or like what recipes you're going to incorporate, at the end of the book?
I usually decide as I'm writing the first draft of the book. I've just finished writing the 4th book in the series. So when I was going through the first draft, yes, I was going through and just deciding what she was making at that particular time, where she's having friends over for dinner, or she was going to go visit someone to get information from them. What would she bring them? So it's really in that first draft. That's not in my outline, what she's making.
You also have a second cozy mystery series besides this one, the Resale Boutique Mysteries.
Yes.
And when I read on your website, it said it was a hobby of fashion buying. Was it actually a hobby, or was this a profession for you?
Well, it was my hobby, and then I majored in it in school. Then I got a job in retail. So.
Oh, okay, so it progressed from there.
Yeah.
Obviously, being in New York, that would be, I think, ideal place to, be a fashion buyer. What did you take a lot of trips? Or
no? What happened was I went to fashion school and I majored in fashion buying and merchandising. Then I landed a job in Macy's in the buying office, and it was an entry-level job. And then at that point is when I met my husband. And when I got married, I moved up to Connecticut, so I did leave retail. Yeah, so they're very, very friendly and active. And so either she's comfortable, the breed is very comfortable just hanging out with you, or going out for a long walk. So it's really nice. So I get to go outside. We didn't have any Shih Tzus in the house for over a month or so, and it got very quiet here, and I wasn't going outside as much. So
yeah, I have 5 dogs myself.
Oh my goodness.
I know. I have 2 long-haired Chihuahuas, 2 Pomchies, and then a Min Pin. So I would be a crazy dog lady as well. So yes, if I can't even imagine not having, a dog anymore.
Yeah, it's very quiet. And as I said, I wasn't getting out because I was always taking Susie or Billy out for walks in the middle of the day.
So did you get Susie and Billy together?
They came about a year apart.
Okay.
I got Susie first, and then Billy came. And we've had them for 14, 15 years. So
yeah, see, because we had gotten my long-haired Chihuahua, we got him first. And then about a month later, I'm like, I think he needs a friend. And then we got him a friend, and then slowly we got more friends. And so now we have a house full of friends.
Yeah. Do you think Connie will be getting a friend perhaps in the future?
Probably not. We've done the 2-dog thing, and that's a lot of work, especially near the end. Definitely won't be close like it was last time. That was too hard having passed away so close together.
Yeah, right. That always.
So do you have to travel a lot for any of your writing stuff? I mean, I don't know how often you're doing like speaking events or signings or anything like that.
Not that much I've done a few events. Our publisher, Kensington, does these amazing cozy cons throughout the country. And I think they'll do it in 4 different regions. And I did the one here in the Northeast in April up in Massachusetts. And it was really nice. They bring in readers and there's panel discussions. So those are always fun to do. And I've done some local events around my town and some conferences, but I don't travel that much.
They should do one maybe like in Wisconsin.
They should. They should. I don't know how they rotate them. I'm not sure. So I'm sure they're planning on for 2020, and they're very nice and they're a lot of fun. And it was really nice meeting the other cozy authors that I know from online.
Right.
But they actually get to meet them in person. So that was great.
Do you have any favorite authors that you'd like to introduce our audience to?
Oh, there's so many.
I know, isn't
but
there?
yeah, but there are 11 of my most favorite authors through my readers group on Facebook, the Cozy Mystery Crew. I created a reader group and I brought 11 other cozy authors in with me.
Okay.
And and we're there 5 days a week hosting. So my most favorite cozy authors are in that group.
Okay.
Yeah.
We'll have to check that out.
Yeah, definitely.
We'll link it below.
Put a link below and everything.
Yeah, that'd be great. Yeah.
Others can get to it.
I guess another question I have is when you are writing, what is the thing you like the most and the thing you like the least? I know some people really like, doing the press things, other people not so much. Or, what is your favorite and least favorite part of the whole process?
I think my favorite part would be writing the first draft. I like that. And then the least favorite part is probably what I mentioned at the beginning is those proof pages that we get from our publisher. I hated it the first time I got them, and I still hate them.
Has it gotten any easier or no?
No.
Yeah. Okay.
You still sit there and you're like, why did my editor buy this? But it's really just something that's I know that I'm not the only author who feels that way, but it is something we must do. But yeah, that is still my least favorite part of the publishing process.
So does your husband read all your books?
Yes, he does. Yes. It's yes. Well, he's not a big cozy mystery fan.
Okay.
Yeah.
There was like a pause there.
Yeah, and it's like that's fine. But yes. Yes, he has.
Yeah, I had to laugh. I was finishing it up this morning, and my husband walks in, and he sees 3 widows and a corpse, and he's like, "That's a little morbid." I was like, "It's a good book."
It's like, don't make me angry.
I know.
And I was surprised too with this book. I was telling Kim. I mean, granted, I don't really have anything to go off of because, like I said, I have not read really cozy mysteries. But I said there were so many characters that I couldn't even guess really who I thought had done it. I had a couple suspicions, and then it kept going back and forth as the chapters, were progressing. I'm like, who did it?
It's this person.
Yeah, and then who did do it? I did not suspect. Because that was the thing Kim had said. She's like, I want to know. She's like, mark down when you have guessed it or when you think. And I told her, I'm like, yeah, I didn't guess.
That's excellent. That's a very good thing.
Are there any questions that you have been hoping that somebody would ask you in regards to your books you're writing that you have not been asked? Because that was the other thing, too, is that we didn't want to ask just, standard questions like
we wanted answered 100 times.
Right. And that we were thinking about that. And we're like, that's so hard to do because, I mean, if you do any sort of speaking, you probably get asked the same thing over and over and over.
The one question that I think I would like readers to ask, maybe not cozy mystery readers when I'm speaking to a group, because I've done a few engagements where I am speaking to a larger group, and there are a few people who do know what a cozy mystery is, but most are not familiar with the cozy mysteries. And I guess I would like for them to ask why I chose to write a cozy mystery as opposed to another type of mystery. And I think when I start to explain what cozy mysteries are, or sometimes I'll have to say to them, think Jessica Fletcher and think about when she's in Cabot Cove specifically, because, the death rate in that town is just enormous. And who would want to live there, actually?
Yeah, no.
And And then they get it. They're like, oh, okay, I know what a cozy mystery is now. I get that. And, they know Jessica Fletcher. They know how she goes around the town and she's asking all these questions. And I think that the perception then becomes, well, she's just a busybody. And I just never felt that Jessica Fletcher or any other protagonist in a cozy mystery was a busybody. I really look at them as being very strong, determined, in control women who are willing to risk their standing in their community, their livelihood, because most of them work in the town that they are living in and sleuthing in. So they risk their business. They risk alienating their family and friends, all in the pursuit of finding the truth and finding justice for characters who may or may not be deserving of justice.
Mm-hmm.
And I just wish more people who were in the groups that I speak to would ask that question about why I've chosen to write a cozy mystery.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And the reason that you gave, I mean, that was such a strong reason.
Right.
I mean,
It really, for when I first discovered cozy mysteries, I think the first introduction, of course, was Miss Marple.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then when I moved up to my town here in Connecticut, there was a bookstore, and I was introduced to Catherine Hall Page. And I know that earlier you'd asked me my favorite mystery authors.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, my group, the authors that I work with, I love their books.
Mm-hmm.
But one of my most favorite mystery authors is Catherine Hall Page. She was the first cozy mystery series that I discovered that wasn't Miss Marple. And then I found a few more, Diane Mott Davison. So I found that culinary cozy books. And I just didn't see them as being busybodies. These were women who had a lot of stake, in trying to get the truth and the answer. And they were relentless. And that's what I really admire, that tenaciousness in them.
And I guess that kind of makes me think of something else, is that, do you only read cozy mysteries, or do you branch out of that genre at all?
Oh, I read outside cozy mysteries. Right now I'm reading a psychological suspense, and I'll read women's fiction, romantic suspense, contemporary romance, and suspense and thrillers. So I read, I do, yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Jess really likes the suspense and thrillers.
Yes, I really like I really like the psychological thrillers.
Mm-hmm.
It's not so much horror. I really like when it's the psychological aspect. To me, that is just, I don't know, it's so intriguing to me. It always has been. I guess the other question I had is, do you foresee yourself writing anything outside of a cozy mystery, or do you think that that's kind of the lane you're going to stay in?
I'm not sure right now. I do have interest in writing outside of cozy mysteries, but I'm just not sure at this point when that will happen.
Yeah, things always change. You never know what comes up. Definitely.
Yeah. So always keep myself open for opportunity and stories. See what happens.
See what comes along.
Yep.
Book 3 of the Food Blogger Mystery Series, 3 Widows and a Corpse, is coming out on October 29th. And then book 2 of the Resale Boutique Mysteries, Silenced in Sequence, is coming out January 7th of 2020. Do you have any other writing projects you're working on, or any other tidbits for those 2 cozy series that you can share with the readers?
In September of 2020, there will be a Resale Boutique novella published. Yes. Okay. And its title is What Not to Wear to a Graveyard.
I like that.
I did.
And book 4 of the Food Blogger Mystery Series will be out. I just don't have a date yet for that. Okay. So that's coming soon. And I'm currently at work on a 3rd book in the Resale Boutique series.
Awesome. Very cool. I know when you saw the title of the Resale Boutique, the first one, you're like, ooh, that looks really good.
Yeah.
So I think Jess will be reading that one.
Yeah. Oh, Murder Wears a Little Black Dress. Yeah.
Yes.
That was so much fun to write. So
do you work full-time while you're writing, or is this your full-time job now?
It is my full-time job now.
Oh, that's going to be so fun.
Yeah.
In ways.
Yeah, I'm sure it's super.
It's still a job.
Yeah, it's still a job. How do you manage that? Because that's the one thing. I work full-time, and then we do this podcast, and it's a lot of work. And I find myself not only working the full-time, and then I come home and then I work on this, and I have very little time to do much anything else. How do you structure your day so that, because I know I'm the type of person where if I start something, it's like I want to finish it. And so I will stay up for hours upon hours to finish it. I guess, how do you structure your day so that you still have like a normal
life?
Yeah, a life, essentially.
Or do you have a life?
Some days you wonder if you do. I would say that the structure of my days has definitely changed since I became a full-time author. Mm-hmm. I was very stringent on my schedule. Everything was accounted for. Practically every hour of the working day was accounted for. And then in this past, I would say 6 months, with our 2 Shih Tzus passing away, and then a family member had surgery, those things just really just took my schedule and just threw it out the window. My planner was essentially useless to me at that point. Mm-hmm. And I found that I just had to keep focused on what was really important. Writing the books, that was my most important to-do task every single day, was to write something. Mm-hmm. And, then other things come into play. And I also found I'm using more and more of a project management software that really helps me focus on everything that I need to do, because there's a lot of promotion, like, doing this podcast interview. This had to go into that onto one of my boards. And then I have a Facebook party this afternoon. And then, I have to work on newsletters. So really just finding a structure that works for you is the most important thing that you can do, because it will give you time back. And I'm finding that I really just focus on what's really important, and then doing the other things that I'm able to do in a time constraint, because I don't want to be working 14, 16 hours a day or 7 days a week. It's just, creatively, it's not enough. It's just too much, actually, to do that much work. And everyone's very different. Some people, will work first thing in the morning. I much prefer working early in the morning. When I get up, I get my coffee and I go and I sit down in my office and I work. And it's writing. It's nothing else. It's focused on writing. Mm-hmm. And then throughout the day, I do have to run errands. I do have to do some housework. Mm-hmm. I throw that in the mix, and it's okay. I've just given myself permission. I think it's okay. It's okay if I do laundry in the middle of the day. I will just do my newsletter later in the afternoon, mm-hmm. or vice versa.
Do you do a daily newsletter, or is that a weekly thing? How do you?
I do a monthly newsletter.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what I've set up with my readers. And then, like, this month now, it's going to be about 3 newsletters because I have a release. But yes, I focus on one newsletter. And then I try to keep my blog up to date. Because I do love blogging, but it does take a lot of work. So where is my time best spent? I have to decide. And it typically is always best spent writing a book.
Right. So then, what do you do on days where you get your coffee and you sit down and you have, like, do you get writer's block, or, where it's like, I don't know what direction I want this to go? And if you do, what do you do to kind of get out of that slump?
Well, I think I'm one of those writers who doesn't believe in writer's block. I think I do believe sometimes you do get stuck, and I do have my detailed outline. So I work from that, like and I'm a draft writer, so I will write my first draft. And actually, my outline may be considered like a 0 draft because it's about 30 pages long.
Really? Wow.
Yeah, and single-spaced. So it is, there's everything in there. Because when I'm brainstorming the book, everything goes in there. If I think of a piece of dialogue, if I have a link to a website that I want to use, because I'm inspired, especially like the Resale boutique books, it's very fashion heavy, so I'll have links. So everything is in there, even the description. So I will use that. And so I can really turn out a first draft in about a month for my books. And then I go on to my second draft where I flush it out because it's very lean. So I add in things, and then I just keep going through the process, because I'm pretty much each book, I'm due a book a year to my publisher for each series. Okay. So I sit down, and what am I doing that day? Am I writing a first draft? Am I working on the outline? Am I working on the second draft? I just do it. If I had a job at a company, they'd expect me to just sit down and do it. So I do. Right. And if I do get stuck, because it does happen, I may delete a scene, because it's usually the scene, something's not working in the scene. And I will look, I've deleted scenes and I've added in new scenes. And sometimes you just need to walk away, clear your head.
Go for a walk with
Go with Connie or exercise or bake some cookies.
So when you sit down, I mean, that sounds super detailed, obviously, if it's a 30-page draft. Or an outline, right? How do you start that process even? Do you just kind of get an idea for what your next book's going to be and then slowly start researching and then create that outline? Or
I just sent in a summary for book 5 in the Food Blogger series to my editor. It's about 2 paragraphs long about what I think what the story is going to be like. And I got the go-ahead from him. And so I will take that and I will expand it to a few pages, throw in, the characters that will be involved and any backstory that I know. And then from there, I just start breaking it down into what the plot would be, the opening. And then I have some of the twists and I have some of the turns and I have the reversals. And then I have that all set up. And usually it's about 2 or 3 sentences for, each plot point or reversal. Then I take that and I expand that into bigger paragraphs, and those become scene summaries.
Okay.
And then I take my scene summaries, and then I start writing the book. So everything is pretty much outlined. I know like the day of the week in the book. I know the time of day, what the weather's like, and the scenes. So just take that and I work.
Yeah. I guess that probably makes the whole writing the book process much simpler when you have, a lot of the work almost done already.
Yeah, it's like you have a roadmap.
Yeah, yes, exactly.
And so I have that map and I'm able to sit down. And sometimes, you take a wrong turn. Like I remember, I think it was the second book in the series, I deleted a whole scene because it really didn't move the story forward. It looked good in the outline, but when I'm actually writing it, nothing new was happening. So deleted it, took some time away from the computer, and I came up with a new idea for another scene that worked better.
Now, do you ever have moments where you're, maybe grocery shopping or something and you're like, oh my God, I just thought of this. This is an excellent idea. Do you have moments like that? Like, do you keep a notepad by your bed or, anything?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I'll use my phone for notes if I'm out or, grab a piece of paper around the house. Yeah. Because that does happen when you're writing, even when you're in a second draft, sometimes something will just spark and go, that's it. That's what was missing. Or, I can do this instead. I may have the guideline by having the outline done, but I'm not so stringent that I don't veer from it if I feel that something needs to change.
How many books are you writing a year? Typically
2 plus, and this year I'm 2 plus the novella.
I'm excited for that novella.
I know, it's so much fun. It takes place it's set around Halloween. So it's so much fun to write. I'm officially now afraid of clowns, actually. So
oh no.
Well, I can't wait to read it. We have already added it to our list.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Looking forward to that. Yes.
Yeah, definitely. Well, thank you so much for joining us, and
thank you for inviting me.
Yeah, of course. We look forward to reading more of your books.
Yes, we can't wait.
Yes.
Thank you.
Was there anything else?
Yes, if anyone wants to find me, they can find me at my website, debrasennefelder.com, and all the information there is on my books, and I'm also on Facebook.
Okay. And we'll make sure to link all that
Great.
in the podcast so they can easily just go and check you out.
Yeah, great. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Okay. Have a great day.
Thank you. You too.